Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to another Kill Team video. At time of recording, Kill Team as a game is about 2 years old at this point, and Games Workshop have confirmed that the next season is going to be revealed soon, most likely at Warhammer Day, which is going to be in about 2 weeks from the point of recording this. And we thought it'd probably be worth us discussing how we truly feel that Kill Team is Games Workshop's best game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Probably of all time? I mean, we've been doing this hobby for what? I mean, since the late 90s.
Yeah.
So, we've got quite a few years' experience, and this is probably the healthiest game I've seen Games Workshop produce. It's not perfect, but it's in a really good state right now. And I'm kind of curious as to what Season 3 is going to begin. So we're also going to speculate on what that could bring for us and for the game as a whole.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about Kill Team, this edition, as a game so far? What have you enjoyed about it, but what makes you think that this might be the best game Games Workshop has done?
I mean, there's quite a bit. I think that, one, there's the level of accessibility for it, in terms of, you know, with 40k, much as I love that, you do have to build a huge army. With this, you can get into it with just a few models, and you can kind of collect as much or as little as you want. You know, if you only want the one kill team, just get that one. If you want multiple, get those. I think the rules, except for a few slightly abstract ones, are much more sort of intuitive, I would say, compared to some of the larger games. And overall, I just think it's, you know, it achieves a good balance of lots of fun whilst being kind of very tactical and requiring you to put in thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kill Team is a really, really good gateway game, and I kind of feel that everyone who, at least in the community I've spoken to, has kind of gone through the same thing as us. It's like, oh, I just need to get one team, but you end up getting loads.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you end up almost spending as much as you would to on an army anyway, but you just have a lot more variety.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing though, is so the price point to get into it, although ultimately the price point may end up being exactly the same, because yes, you do collect more and you are getting all of the different boxes and everything, your initial outlay is a lot more accessible.
And it doesn't have to be the same, right? If you're happy with one team, you're happy with one team.
Absolutely.
On your point about the rules being quite intuitive, I actually think that's one of the strongest things about this version of Kill Team, and not just Kill Team, but of all of Games Workshop's games, where sometimes they struggle a little bit with that. Kill Team has managed to find this blend where it makes for a really, really good match play game. But in terms of a narrative sense, so the element you were touching upon, so it's actually got a name, it's called ludonarrative dissonance, which is when the rules and what you're trying to do don't necessarily blend too well.
Yeah.
So, for example, if a game's really good, tactically speaking, you should be able to think, okay, I want to go for this approach, these tactics, and then the rules don't get in the way of you doing that. You can actually express that on the tabletop without any undue abstractions getting out of the way, and Kill Team does that really, really well.
Yeah.
It's also really pretty finely balanced as well. So, Games Workshop are really happy with where they are balance-wise. There's a few teams that are still a little bit too good, some that which still need a bit of a leg up, but for the most part, the reason why they know the balance is good, and the community feel that this is true as well, is first of all, they're saying the top 10 Kill Team players in the world, I think there are between, depending on where you look, it's like 8 or 9 unique teams, and that the different factions are represented fairly equally across all levels of play, which is great. Most recently, there was a thread on Reddit where someone was asking, what is the most annoying team to play against? And the fact that there wasn't any one clear answer and that loads of different teams were mentioned goes to show that actually most of the teams are in a pretty good place right now. Mechanics, like you said, not only do they not get in the way of what you're trying to do because there aren't too many abstractions, they're just fun.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Alternate activations is always a big hit. I mean, I'm a big fan of it, and I know a lot of people are online, and the rule set is very, very tight. So, mechanically, it's a great game. But in terms of accessibility as well, it's not just that the initial outlay is cheaper, because like you said, you only really need one team. It's more accessible in that it's just a lot easier to play. it's something that you can easily fit into an evening.
Yeah.
Now, in the early days of this edition, the games were quicker. When it was just compendium teams, which now kind of been left behind, the compendium teams are no longer really considered, but when it was just compendium teams, the rules were simpler. We were getting games done in, easily in 40 minutes, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, easily. I mean, we could, if we wanted to, in an evening, we could get 2 games out, no problem.
And we definitely did.
Yeah.
Now that's less the case. I would say when we're not recording a battle report, because that takes way too much time, but when we're not recording a battle report, 90 minutes to 2 hours is not uncommon.
Yeah, for the, the setup and everything. Yeah.
But that's still easily done in an evening, which is a lot easier than most of the bigger games as well.
Yep.
And, we're in our mid-30s, so when people are in that age bracket and, you're busy with, your career, with family stuff, it can be hard to fit in a full game sometimes. But Kill Team, it's nice and easy. It's not quite a lunchtime game.
No.
But you can definitely fit it in the evening really well. The thing that I perhaps like the most about Kill Team, and this is probably very, very personal to me, though I'm sure others feel this way as well, is how interesting the teams are. We're pretty big Warhammer 40,000 role players, and seeing some of the sub-factions, which have always been present in the lore, represented with physical models, is awesome. The fact that we've got a Road Trader Kill Team, the Void Armsmen, the Navy Breachers, I was not expecting to see models of that. That was a really big surprise. I really like that. The updated Arbites models, all fantastic. I'm a big fan of seeing models of characters and people and unit types in 40k that are away from the main battlefields, and Kill Team's fantastic for doing that. So there's a lot of visual interest with the models there.
Yeah. And
it's allowed them to then bring them into 40k and just make the big game more interesting as a whole. So as we said, Kill Team's now 2 years old, and each year 1 and year 2 have been very, very different, both in terms of the game, but also for us as well. So the first year of Kill Team, when this edition first came out, all focused on skirmishes set outdoors.
Yeah.
And the rules pretty thoroughly cover different types of outdoor environments: ruined cities, whole intact buildings, mechanicus walkways, jungles, stuff like that. Season 2 brought it indoors in close spaceship interiors, kind of a Space Hulk themed setting, and it's almost like a completely different game.
Yep.
It works really well, and it's probably my favourite way of doing Kill Team. I'm just a huge fan of the 3D Space Hulk tiles. I think it looks fantastic, but it's a very, very different game. Now, Season 3, we've all known it's been coming for a little while now. Games Workshop have basically teased it's going to be revealed probably in Warhammer Day. And Varrock sources were saying November, December for a release date.
Oh, okay.
And Varrock's actually pretty spot on with his rumours. Some people don't like him, think he's a bit of a shill. I think that's unfair. But when it comes to his rumours, not his speculation, but his rumours have always been spot on. So I think there's a good chance we're going to be finding out about Season 3 pretty soon. So the question is, what is Season 3 going to be about? What is the theme of Season 3?
I'm really curious to see, because like you say, again, maybe I have limited imagination, but it is hard to kind of go, okay, well, we've done outdoor, we've done indoor, what else is there? Where I was thinking that it's possible that they could go is, yes, we have outdoor, but it's very generic outdoor. Your rules are very much just meant to be used with whatever you've got, and can apply to everything. So I was thinking what they could potentially do is make it so that you get very specific rules for certain environments. Okay, you want to go into the jungle. These are really specific rules to make that jungle warfare more realistic to jungle warfare, or forest worlds, garden worlds, something like that. So yes, we're back outdoors, but we're not back outdoors with generic rules. They're very specific to a set environment.
What if they started bringing, lakes into it, or like jungle ponds, and it's like a flat area that provides absolutely no cover unless you're on a conceal order, and then you can't be shot because you're underneath the water and can't be seen.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think there is scope there. For example, let's look at Season 1. One of the complaints of Kill Team, and this is a valid one, is that maybe vantage points are too strong. And if you have too many vantage points, like higher positions on your terrain board, it kind of negates the tactics of sneaking around in concealment because vantage points
you don't get it.
Yeah, cancels it out. So maybe going back to an outdoor setting which limited vantage points. I would call it, I don't know, kill zone hive spires or something, and it would kind of be gantry based combat. Like think underneath like the upper tiers of a hive city with like massive drops below. So think of a indoor style board, so you have your long corridors and stuff, but all the walls are low, so it's actually an open board at the same time. It is the movement which is restricted. Then you can still see everyone, but the best way of hiding is literally just to go into concealment, like hide behind a gangway or something, and combine that with open gaps that, so you have set maps with open gaps that can only be like traversed by jumping over them, because jump is a mechanic which exists in the game, but
you don't use it.
Yeah,
I haven't used it very much.
Yeah, not in a long time anyway. So that would force that mechanic to come into play a bit more, and then you could bring in like new like general tactical ploys, like if you fall down, you fall to your death, but you can re-roll if you do a certain tactical ploy or whatnot. So it's like a combination of outdoors and indoors within one board still, rather than having a separate outdoor environment, separate indoor environment, mash them together. Alright, so speaking of Season 3 in general, what do you hope Games Workshop does to improve Kill Team in the next year, the year of Season 3? What did you think was particularly disappointing about the previous 2 seasons and hope to see fixed coming up?
So, for me, there's 2 things. But first, I would say the fact that they kind of stopped going through and updating the compendium teams. I would love to see them actually revisit some of those, get back in and give us some new bespoke rules for, kill teams like the Tyranids. We've had 10th edition come out. Tyranids are the new big bad of 40k. We've had Into the Dark, which is effectively, 3D Space Hulk. And there's just not a single Tyranid bespoke rule in sight. And it's just deeply disappointing.
Yeah, it makes sense now they were holding back with the Tyranids because they needed to make the release schedule work with 40k. But the fact that there was no Tyranid bespoke team in what could arguably be called the Space Hulk season of Kill Team is a massively missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
So yeah, to your point, totally agree. Some of the compendium teams make for really good bespoke teams, like look what they did with the Harlequins, or the Wormblades, the Genestealer Cults, Warp Coven. We've still got other teams. I don't expect the Grey Knights to be done, not yet. I think the Grey Knights are probably going to have a updated release similar to what they're probably going to do with the Tyranids and what they did with the Votan, which is we're going to have to wait for a 40k range refresh to happen first, because those models are just ancient now and they don't look that good.
Yeah.
Death Guard. Death Guard absolutely needs a bespoke kill team. I think it's only fair because the Thousand Suns got a bespoke kill team. I'm just wondering if Games Workshop feel a bit like maybe with World Eaters, if the Legionary team with the appropriate marks covers Death Guard and World Eaters. Like, your World Eaters Legionary team, which are just Legionaries with the mark of Khorne, actually captured a feeling of World Eaters pretty well.
I was going to say, I mean, I've played a few games with that kill team now, and honestly, I don't feel like they're missing anything. They have access to bespoke rules. You just give everything, Khorne theme, and they're basically charging, killing monsters, and I love them.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. I mean, throughout Season 1, and they probably did this because there was a lack of bespoke teams, but seeing those compendium teams being updated with bespoke rules, released in White Dwarf and then later in the Kill Team Annual was awesome. And yeah, I totally agree. I want to see them go back to that. For me, one of the main issues I had with how Games Workshop tackled Kill Team isn't really Kill Team's fault, it's more of a general issue of Games Workshop products. And that's the supply chain is appalling.
Yes.
Now, it's not totally Games Workshop's fault. The pandemic had a huge impact on it. Supply chains are still trying to recover. But the fact of the matter is, people were getting super excited for these brand new kill teams coming out, wanted to try these new kill teams. Then, because of the ongoing issue Games Workshop has with scalpers and limited product releases, they weren't able to get those kill teams like the Kazakin, We were lucky. We got the CAD because we were able to get our hands on the Shadow Vaults box set, but so many people
Yeah.
had to wait until the CAD had their individual release. Some then missed that printing and had to wait further. That's not really on, especially when it came to the fact that Games Workshop updated the main mode of player kill team, the match play rules, with the Critical Ops mission deck, which we only just got a copy of. If you've watched our channel, you've probably noticed that Year 1, during Season 1, we were mainly doing match play teams. Then, throughout Season 2, we've kind of just been doing narrative battle reports. That was partly because we generally wanted to do a narrative battle report. I wanted to go into it by interspersing it with some match play games as well for the match play crowd. But the fact of the matter is, people who play match play games want to see the most updated rules, and we just didn't have a copy, we weren't able to get them.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bit of a dropped ball by Games Workshop.
Yeah, I mean, and also with stuff like that, it's not always clear when you're going to need 2 copies of something, so that applies to that card deck. It's not clear necessarily that you need 2 copies of that in order to be able to use them. And it's the same with the teams. I mean, some of those teams, you need more than 1 copy to be able to build the optimal team or build all of the options.
Yeah.
And
it harms the accessibility, like you said. Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so that's my bug there. Was there anything else that you didn't like about what they've done with Kill Team so far?
Well, I mean, the other area that I would love to see them improve is the Spec Ops rules.
Absolutely.
I personally think that those are the weakest part of the rule set for Kill Team, which is a real shame, because doing narrative campaigns where your operatives are learning experience and where, you're building a real attachment to them as they grow and they develop would be fantastic. But I mean, we've tried to play a couple of Spec Ops campaigns, and honestly, the way that the XP is gained and the way that you can
get
injuries and all of this sort of stuff, it just doesn't hit the spot for me.
They improved it ever so slightly with Season 2, the Gallowdark Expeditions. If you use the optional rules which they include, it's actually fairly interesting, where you explore different areas and the resources to deplete. But even then, that's an optional rule, it's not the default mode of play. But no, I agree. There's one thing they've done really well with the narrative games. The missions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The missions are very, very varied. They're much more varied than the match play missions. They're much more interesting, especially with the Into the Dark stuff. The variety and the flavor of the different missions is fantastic. Really, really enjoyed them. But you make a really good point. Considering Spec Ops mode is a third of the core rulebook, it is shockingly weak. It falls down in the most important area, which is you just don't care if your models die.
No, I mean, and that right there is the biggest part for me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I remember when we were much younger, and we played Necromunda, and it was the Underhive edition, right? Back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And we played a lot of that, and those models, those gangers, as they grew and they got XP and they had their own little personalities, and then when one of them died, it actually was like, no!
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
It was crushing.
And it made victories of them all the sweeter, but when they died, you really felt it, because, they actually... It's weird, and everybody who's played, like, old Necromunda says it, maybe even new Necromunda, we haven't really tackled that. But your models, their personality came out as they gained experience, and they ended up playing a certain way with their certain skill sets. And the stories they got as they got injured and permanent injuries. And that was all really, really cool. And
Absolutely.
You really felt it when they died, which, it sucked, but that was also the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because of you were so emotionally attached. But yeah, like you said, experience gain is so slow if you play it rules as written with this. And it's so easy to negate the effects of dying, because either they die, and you can say, oh, just spend a requisition point medevac, yeah, but he's fine. Or they die, but because of how long it takes to earn any battle honors, you don't care. It's like, just replace them.
Yep.
That almost makes it pointless to track experience points.
It really does.
Which is why when we did our narrative campaign battle reports on YouTube, we kind of did our own thing with it. So like we awarded battle honors and like skills as rewards rather than the slow accrual of experience points. So yeah, large part of the rulebook, arguably one of the what should be the biggest point actually about Kill Team, these narrative games, these stories you tell, and it's the weakest form. We're primarily narrative players. Kill Team, because of the really tight rule set and a really good balance, made us appreciate match play a lot more.
Absolutely.
And that in turn highlights how weak the Spec Ops rules are. Improved slightly by the Gallo Dark expeditions.
I mean, they clearly realized there was an issue and tried to address it a little bit, but they could have gone a lot further. Personally, I think that the Spec Ops section needs an overhaul, and a fairly major one, so that you do have those emotional attachments again, because that's the coolest part of playing narrative games with those small units.
Okay. Well, we're starting to run on time here, so final question. Are there any teams that you hope come out during Season 3?
Yes, so I'd love to see the Eldar get a new team. So I know we've got the Corsairs, but obviously, something that's more Aspect Warrior. Mm-hmm. I know that one of the favorite rumors right now is Striking Scorpions, and I actually think that would be amazing. I mean, they're perfect, I think, for Kill Team. So I'm hoping we get some Striking Scorpions.
Yeah, Elder Exodites would be cool. Elder Riding Dinosaurs. And here's what I hope to see. I think this is a fairly common sentiment throughout the internet, which is most people are sick of yet another Imperial Guard style team. But if they did resculpted Catachans, paired off against Tyranids on jungle terrain, that box would sell out in seconds.
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely
really cool. So yeah, you could have like a melee focused Imperial Guard team for sure, different from Blooded. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to see. Okay, well, I think that's it from me. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add about Kill Team or what you hope to see coming up in Season 3?
No, just in general, I'm actually super excited for it, and I think it'll be great to see all of the stuff that comes out and do some more games.
Absolutely. So that sums up our thoughts on the state of Kill Team, why we love it so much, and what we hope to see improve in the near future, and some gentle speculation about Season 3. So we'll probably come back to you guys once Season 3 has been revealed with our thoughts and opinions. Shouldn't be too long, and it should be quite exciting when it happens. Alright, that's it for now, guys. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.